Something felt different the moment the episode 3 trailer of Marshals dropped. For the first time, it doesn't just tease another dangerous mission, it hints at something far more personal. A confrontation that many fans have been quietly expecting. Because in the trailer, one moment stands out above everything else, Harry finally confronting Kayce Dutton. And if that moment plays out the way it looks in the trailer, Kayce's past might finally stop being something he can hide from. For the last 2 episodes, Kayce has been trying to live 2 lives at the same time. On one side, he's a U.S. Marshal, someone who is supposed to follow the law and protect people. But on the other side, he's still a Dutton. And anyone who knows the history of the Dutton family understands what that means. Their problems don't disappear. They get buried. Sometimes literally. Episode 3 looks like the point where those 2 worlds finally start crashing into each other. The trailer opens with tension already building inside the team. The Marshals are dealing with a violent situation connected to the conflict between the Broken Rock community and the local ranchers. What started as a disagreement over a mining project is now turning into something much more serious. Shots have already been fired, and now the Marshals are being sent out to find whoever is responsible. On the surface, it sounds like a straightforward manhunt. But nothing in this story ever stays simple for long. Because while the rest of the team is focused on tracking down the shooters, Harry seems to be focused on something else entirely. From the way the trailer frames his scenes, it's clear he's starting to connect pieces that don't quite make sense. Harry has always been the type of person who doesn't trust coincidences, especially when the Dutton name is involved. And now that Kayce is part of his team, that suspicion is slowly turning into curiosity. The kind of curiosity that can quickly become dangerous. You can actually see the shift in Harry's attitude during the trailer. Earlier in the series, his distrust of the Dutton family was more like background noise, something he mentioned but didn't actively pursue. But now it feels different. Now it feels like he's actively watching Kayce. Studying him. Waiting for something to slip. And that's exactly why the confrontation moment in the trailer feels so important. There's a short scene where Harry directly questions Kayce, and the tone of that conversation already tells us a lot. It doesn't sound like a casual discussion between colleagues. It sounds like an interrogation that just hasn't officially been called one yet. Harry's voice is calm, but the way he speaks suggests he already suspects more than he's saying out loud. For Kayce, this is the exact situation he has been trying to avoid since the series started. Every step he has taken so far has been about creating distance between himself and the things that happened in the past. He left the ranch. He joined the Marshals. He tried to build a life where he could focus on protecting people instead of cleaning up problems the Dutton way. But the problem with the past is that it doesn't stay buried forever. And the trailer strongly suggests that Harry might be the first person close enough to uncover it. What makes this even more complicated is the fact that Kayce isn't just dealing with an investigation. He's also dealing with his own instincts. Because when danger appears, Kayce reacts the way he always has. Quickly. Decisively. Sometimes violently. Those instincts helped him survive in the past, but in his new life as a Marshal, they could easily become his biggest liability. The manhunt in episode 3 might look like the main mission on paper, but the real story seems to be happening underneath it. Every clue, every conversation, every suspicious glance between characters feels like it's slowly building toward one question: how long can Kayce keep the truth hidden? And if Harry keeps pushing the way the trailer suggests he will, that answer might come sooner than Kayce expects. Because once someone like Harry starts digging, he usually doesn't stop until he finds something. And if what he finds leads him anywhere near the secrets connected to the Dutton family, this confrontation could be the moment where Kayce's carefully built new life begins to fall apart. The biggest reason episode 3 feels so tense is because the stakes around Kayce are slowly getting higher with every episode. In the beginning, his past felt like something distant, a shadow following him quietly while he tried to move forward. But now that shadow is starting to take shape. The trailer hints that the investigation connected to the rancher shooting might take the Marshals into areas that are very close to territory the Dutton family has controlled for years. That alone would make Kayce uncomfortable. But the real danger is the possibility that the investigation could accidentally uncover something much bigger than a simple gunfight. Harry seems to understand that possibility better than anyone else. Unlike the rest of the team, Harry doesn't look at the situation as just another case. The way the trailer shows his reaction suggests he's constantly thinking about what might be hidden beneath the surface. When he talks about the Duttons, it's clear he believes there are secrets surrounding that family that people have ignored for too long. And now, standing right in front of him, is a man who used to be part of that world. Kayce might be wearing a Marshal's badge now, but to Harry, that doesn't erase where he came from. It simply makes the situation more suspicious. Why would someone leave a powerful family like the Duttons behind? Why would someone who grew up around that kind of influence suddenly decide to join law enforcement? Questions like that are exactly what make Harry such a dangerous person for Kayce to be around. Because Harry doesn't just ask questions, he waits for the answers to reveal themselves. Another interesting detail from the trailer is the way Kayce reacts during these moments. He doesn't explode or get defensive. Instead, he becomes quieter. More controlled. Almost like someone who knows that saying the wrong thing could make everything worse. That kind of reaction tells us a lot about what's going on in his mind. Kayce understands that one mistake could start a chain reaction he can't stop. If Harry begins a real investigation into his past, it wouldn't just threaten Kayce's career as a marshal. It could expose things that were never meant to be discovered. And once secrets like that start coming out, they don't just affect one person. They affect everyone connected to them. That's why the tension in episode 3 feels different from the action we saw earlier in the series. This time, the danger isn't just coming from criminals or violent situations in the field. It's coming from inside the team itself. Suspicion is slowly replacing trust, and that change can break even the strongest partnerships. For Kayce, the real challenge might not be catching the shooters at all. The real challenge will be surviving the questions that come after. And judging by the way the trailer ends, Harry's confrontation might only be the beginning of a much larger problem waiting for Kayce just around the corner. If episode 3 truly moves in the direction the trailer is hinting at, the biggest turning point will not be the manhunt itself. The real turning point will be the moment when Harry decides that simply watching Kayce Dutton is no longer enough. Up until now, Harry's suspicion has been quiet. He has made comments about the Dutton family, and he has clearly shown that he doesn't trust anything connected to them. But suspicion alone doesn't create real danger. What creates danger is curiosity turning into investigation. And that seems to be exactly where the story is going. The trailer suggests that Harry is starting to look deeper into Kayce's background. Not in an official way yet, but in the kind of subtle way that experienced investigators often use. Small questions. Careful observations. Watching how someone reacts when certain topics come up. For someone like Kayce, that kind of attention is far more dangerous than direct accusations. Because the truth is, Kayce has always survived by controlling what people around him know. For most of his life, the Dutton family handled their problems quietly. When something dangerous happened, it disappeared before anyone outside the ranch had the chance to ask questions. That system worked because the people involved trusted each other. But Kayce's new life as a marshal doesn't work like that. Here, the people around him are trained to notice details. They are trained to investigate anything that doesn't make sense. And if one person starts to suspect that something is wrong, the rest of the system eventually follows. That's why Harry's confrontation in the trailer feels so important. In one of the most intense moments, Harry appears to directly challenge Kayce about his past. The way the scene is framed suggests that Harry isn't just asking casual questions anymore. He's testing Kayce. Watching his reaction. Trying to see whether the man standing in front of him is really the law-abiding marshal he claims to be. And Kayce knows exactly what that moment means. Because once someone like Harry starts testing you, every answer becomes risky. Say too little, and you look suspicious. Say too much, and you might reveal something you can't take back. That kind of pressure is exactly what could push Kayce into making a mistake. Another thing that makes this episode feel unpredictable is the situation happening outside the investigation. The conflict between the Broken Rock community and the ranchers is already unstable. The manhunt for the shooters is likely to create even more tension, especially if the Marshals begin questioning people who are already angry and defensive. In situations like that, information can appear in unexpected ways. Someone might say something they shouldn't. Someone might mention a story they heard years ago. Someone might recognize a name connected to the Dutton family. All it takes is one small detail for a larger secret to start unraveling. And if that happens while Harry is already suspicious, it could completely change the direction of the story. What makes Kayce such a complicated character is the fact that he genuinely wants to move forward. He isn't trying to cause trouble. He isn't trying to return to the violent world he left behind. But the problem is that the past he comes from is too heavy to simply walk away from. Being a Dutton isn't something that disappears just because you change your job. The trailer almost feels like a warning about that reality. Kayce might be wearing a Marshal's badge now, but the skills and instincts that helped him survive before are still part of who he is. And when pressure builds high enough, those instincts can easily return. If episode 3 pushes Kayce into another moment where he has to choose between the law and survival, the consequences could be huge. Not just for him, but for everyone on the team. Because if Harry ever discovers proof that Kayce has crossed the line before, trust inside the Marshal unit could completely collapse. A team that once worked together could suddenly become divided between people who believe Kayce and people who see him as a threat. And once that kind of division begins, it's almost impossible to stop. That's why the confrontation teased in the trailer might only be the beginning. It might be the first crack in a situation that eventually turns into something much bigger. For now, the biggest question hanging over episode 3 is simple. How long can Kayce keep balancing these two worlds? The world where he's trying to follow the law, and the world where he once solved problems in a very different way. Because if Harry keeps pushing for the truth, that balance might not last much longer. And if Kayce's past finally catches up with him, the next episode of Marshals could change everything we thought we knew about his future.